Hey everyone, today we have the opportunity to sit down with Michelle Kirk, owner of Kirk Cleaning Services. She has been in cleaning business for 32 years. She works with over 75 agents in the area. She does offices, pharmaceutical plants, residential properties, everything. She is our cleaning expert. Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm excited for this. So when I was getting ready, I was thinking about my own questions and I asked a few people what they were interested in. I got to tell you, the biggest question was, how do I clean up after my kids? I've got four of my own. They are just basically a walking tornado, a disaster nonstop. Do you have any recommendations for cleaning up with them, either on an ongoing basis or like when I'm trying to prep for a party?
Well, I've had two of my own children and I have five grandchildren right now, and we go into a lot of properties with children. So one of the big things I teach my own children, and I think it probably could carry out for most clients, is that I teach them young. They start cleaning up, but I make it fun. I'm sure a lot of families are familiar with the cleanup song. So we sing the cleanup song with the
Mhm.
kids, and they go around and they start picking things up. We put things in little containers, compartments, organizing. The kids love it. And if they're different colors, they really love it. Put that in the blue container, put that in the green container. It also teaches them when they're extremely young. Um, I think it's a good thing to instill in the children. Another one of the things that we do, and I'm reading some of my notes, so if I look away, I apologize.
That's
But
okay.
we have ask the clients when we come in to have all the toys and say clothing or anything off the floor so that we can clean what we're doing. We specialize in cleaning to get to your nooks and crannies instead of picking up for you, because we don't really know where the things go. But one of the things that people always do is they have a toy room, which is great because sometimes you just shut that door and it's not no big deal. So that's all big helps for us, and seems to go through. My daughter actually still cleans to this day. She works with us.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Well, then you must have made it pretty fun. I might need to get a full list of those songs because some of the kids, they gravitate towards it and some of them don't. But I couldn't agree more with the two big points that I heard were like the toy room. I mean, anytime somebody has like an office on the first floor and they've got one of those glass doors or something, and they say, "Oh, I don't need an office." I was like, "Well, that's the toy room. The rule is
Mm,
the toys get in that room or they get in the garbage, and the kids figure it out pretty quickly. Plus, then you can close it and you just be like, "That's the disaster. Don't worry about that." And I was talking to another parent recently about it because she figured out how to make her kids play piano, which, whew, I mean, we're struggling with that one. But I told her like the secret for me with getting our kids to clean up was as long as they understood where it was supposed to go,
mhm.
uh, and it was that simple. I just told them put it away, and they understood that that was basically an expectation, or there were consequences for it if they wouldn't. We've got a
Right.
giant ball pit. All right, get all the balls in the ball pit, and that seems to work. That's also good to know that, like you said, from like a cleaner's perspective, I'm hiring professionals, get it all out because I guess you can't wipe down a surface if it's cluttered with toys.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean they're probably not going to clean up any more than my uh, uh, the guy who mows my grass is going to pick up all the toys out of the lawn. So we need a separate service just for picking up that stuff. Is
There you
there
go.
any solutions or suggestions for products that we should be using to clean up after kids, like specific stuff that might be a little bit more kid friendly, or we're not worried about them getting into it?
Yeah, you know what? I make a bottle up for all my girls, because they're exposed to chemicals every day, but also because I don't want families, especially with children and pets, to be breathing in toxic chemicals. So
Hmm.
we use, sometimes we'll use vinegar, which is harmless if it's touching the skin, and a Dawn dish detergent combination. It works great. The vinegar will cut hard water deposits. It will cut soap scum if there's a buildup in the shower. It's a nice antibacterial way of sanitizing surfaces and everything. And it smells fresh. Like you can get different scents and you can also, if you want something stronger, use ammonia. Again, it's not as toxic for your pets and your children because you don't want any of those chemicals around for your children absorbing those. So it
Correct.
works
I
out
know that's
really
a big
well.
concern. And I also get worried about, like you said, with the air quality, because you can put it in and then you can smell it for a while. Well, I think that's partially because the fumes are still in the air. Are there other things that we should just be flat out avoiding and say, like, never use this in-house if you have got kids roaming around?
Yes. One of the things that I was taught really, really young was not to use, and I know some people do use them, is this wet Swifters on your hardwood floors. Number one, if you have a scratch in your wood floor and water is absorbing under the scratch, it gets under the polyurethane, and eventually it will make a mark on there. But also, um, if you're using the Swifters with the chemical that's on them, it absorbs into your animal's paws, and it's
Hmm.
very toxic for an animal. They say it's almost poisonous to them. So we do not use the wet Swifters, and also bleach is very toxic. It'll burn your lungs. Do not ever mix it with another chemical. Um, those are a lot of the things, as I tell the girls, is do not mix products together because they can actually explode on you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that, some people want you to try to use some very toxic things, and please try to stay away from that.
Yeah, I've heard the issue about bleach. I haven't heard about the Swiffer. Now, that's just the one where you get those little like disposable pads you're referencing, right?
Yes, yes.
So you
Not
don't
the
have a
dry
problem with the
one.
machines or the mops with the just not the disposable ones, the one that look like a giant
Right,
pipe that you throw on the bottom of it.
right, right. They're wet.
Yeah.
There's a chemical in them that is very toxic to pets.
And I've also
So,
seen personally when I haven't used the Swiffer specifically, but I've tried some of the other mop systems, and I find that they leave a little bit of dirt on the ground. So I'll actually
mhm.
go back and do like a second cleanup with like either a clean mop or try to wipe up the moisture. Does that
Right.
often happen if you're just using a simple one-time solution? Will it leave a residue
Um,
behind?
we don't use the Swifters a whole lot because of that, because we don't want a residue left on it. Well, again, we'll probably use either ammonia or vinegar, and
Hmm.
that sort of cuts that residue down better for you. It won't harm your finishes on any of your products. I mean, I wouldn't say to let something set on it, because yes,
True.
if you let it set there and say it was dripping, yes, it could make a stain. If it's eating hard water deposits, yes, it would make a stain, say, on your granite counters. But if you're just wiping something down, it's not going to hurt it at all. Um, so we're pretty good about, making sure we don't leave wet products on counters, on floors, on wood. Um, and I stay on top of the girls about that all the time.
Well, I mean, it's important. So I'm a big fan of analogies. This is one that I got from my dentist. Brushing your teeth helps keep them clean, but if you brush them too long or use something too abrasive, it actually
Oh,
damages them. And that's what I
right,
hear when you're saying the same thing. You put it on, you take it off, you're fine. Um,
right.
I had clients once that more than once, but I have had a lot of clients who get really scared when they're around hardwoods because they hear these horror stories about water. And yes, it's true. If you leave water on hardwoods, it'll
Hmm.
swell and it'll damage the hardwoods. That's not to say that if you spill a cup of water and then you wipe it up, that all of a sudden the hardwoods are ruined. They can
Right,
handle moisture. You just don't let it sit there overnight or for a couple hours or anything like that. Just get it cleaned up and you'll be fine.
right, right.
You don't, well, or if you do it every day, because that's the inverse of that problem is they never spill water on, but every day the teenage kid takes his wet towel, throws it on the floor in
Yeah.
one spot, and then there's this just like this circle, and you're like, what happened there? It's in the middle of the room. There's no water stains. It's the wet towels every
Or
day.
people leaving plants, like plants on a wood
Yeah,
floor. Very, very bad. It leaves terrible rings in the wood.
yeah,
Turd on.
no
One of the
doubt.
things we've learned that's non-toxic also is using baking soda and lemon
Hmm.
together. That'll get stains out of, like, if your counters are like a Formica or a what's the old kind of counters they used to make? I can't think of them. Nowadays most people have granite,
Corian?
but Corians, yes, thank
Yep.
you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's it'll get stains out of that real nice, and it won't hurt it either, the finishes. So
Okay.
it
Baking
works
soda
good.
and lemon is another
Yeah,
good one.
baking soda is great for stainless steel counter, or like cabinet, not cabinets, sinks and stuff.
Hmm.
It'll put a shine on them.
Yeah. How does that compare to things like Zud? Does that, are you
Again, you're
familiar?
using chemicals, so with the baking soda, it's
Yeah.
not toxic. You're not getting any chemical smells. So I love it, and it smells really well too. And
Yeah, it does.
also, one of the things that we do too is we will take, sometimes we'll take vinegar and baking soda. Now you have to have good plumbing. You can't have the plastic plumbing. Some of the newer houses do have plastic plumbing, but if you have metal pipes, you can pour vinegar and baking soda down your drains, and it'll keep them running free. It'll keep any
Mm.
kind of grease, any kind of hair products that have built up in your tubs, anything that's built up in your drains. It'll help them keep running smoothly.
That's fascinating. I never thought about it from that perspective, but I'll have to put that nugget in the back of my brain because, yes, drains get
I'll make
clogged.
you some notes.
I'm trying to be respectful of my family and not describe them in a poor light, but drains get clogged.
Oh yes, yeah.
I appreciate that. Is there any other tips that you have? Like a hot topic is always cleaning bathrooms and kitchens. Get like, what are we supposed to be doing with our showers? You talked a little bit about this. How do we get rid of
Yeah.
the soap scum and any stains or anything like that in our showers?
So again, I think that I like that the lemon and vinegar, or I'm sorry, the vinegar and the Dawn dish detergent. The Dawn dish detergent breaks down the soap scum, and the vinegar will help with the hard water deposits. A lot of times we'll go into homes that are being listed on the markets, and they'll have stains around their drains, or they'll have the ring around the water and where the commode where the water sets. And they don't know how to get rid of it, and they'll try to use bleach, and bleach will not cut lime deposits,
Okay.
any hard water deposits. The vinegar will, and I tell people all the time, put it in a spray bottle, soak your shower down. If you have any spots that are really built up, do it like on a daily basis, just for a little while. You don't even have to scrub it, and walk away, and then rinse it down before you get in the tub so it's not slippery or anything.
Mhm.
Eventually, the vinegar will eat those hard water and the soap scum up, if you have a buildup. But again, you can use it, wipe it down, and it comes up sparkling. It works really nice. I like it.
So this might, just to be clear though, this might be an issue where like if I spray it one time and then I try to just rub, I might not be able to get it all off in one setting. But if I do it over time, each day it peels off a top layer. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I've seen that before too, where people try to clean, they say, well, I tried, it didn't work. And maybe it's
But
just because like you're saying, I try to think of like a pan when something gets baked onto it, you can
mhm.
scrub, but depending on how thick that stuff is, unless you're using like a Brillo pad, you might just not get it all off in one shot.
We do use the scrubbies. Yeah, we'll use
Oh, you do?
scrubbies. Yeah, not the Brillo pads because they
Well,
might scratch.
that's metal.
But
Yeah.
right, we went into an older house recently, and very older, much older house in Ardmore, and the soap scum was so built up on, not the soap scum, the lime deposit was so built up on where you would put your soap,
Yeah.
on the little soap dish holder, that I literally took a screwdriver and sort of chiseled it off, and because it was so thick. Um, in it, you get the green hard water, you get the pink, you get the brown hard water deposits. That's how you can tell that it's a mineral. Um, and then once it was done, then I soaked it. But the soaking it wasn't going to get through that much of a buildup.
Right.
That was a lot of years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I said it, all you're really doing if you soak it, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from like a chemical perspective, you're allowing the vinegar molecules to either get in and disintegrate basically what's ever on the top surface. It's not going to be able to penetrate in.
Right.
And that's
Right.
why I said at a certain component, I don't know how much you can accelerate that process with rubbing, because the physical act of rubbing is probably not enough to wipe off the limestone unless you're using something stronger like a screwdriver. And I
Right.
would recommend people to use a screwdriver to the tub of their.
Yeah, I
I
was
feel
very,
like
very careful.
I don't know how else to describe that. It's just
I was very careful when I did it. But you know what? A lot of people get a lot of hard water buildups in anything where it's draining, or anywhere where, say, the slider doors in the sliding tracks. A
yep.
lot of deposit there, and a lot of times I say, put a spray nozzle on the bottle, spray it, it bubbles it, let it sit. Go back and redo it, and then try to wipe it, and eventually it will come off.
Okay. But
Yeah.
it's not uncommon if it's there and you're trying to do it by yourself, it wouldn't be uncommon for it to take a couple weeks to go away, is what you're saying.
Yes, yeah. We can usually get rid of it, like when we go into a property, we can usually get rid of it if it's built up.
Okay.
Pretty good at it, yes.
Okay. Well, you've got a knack for it. I'll start trying it. Fingers crossed. I'll let you know
Yes,
how it works.
you'll have to
Um,
send me pictures.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. What about the glass? You know, the glass doors on showers? Oh my goodness,
Mhm.
those get stained all the time. Is it true
Yes.
that once it gets in the glass, you can't get it back out?
Sometimes it does. It'll etch into that or into the porcelain in a commode. Sometimes it does hurt the finishes on it, and it will leave small, insets into it if you aren't keeping up with it regularly. So what I always recommend is try to keep up with it on a consistent basis. It doesn't have to be every day, but try to do it weekly.
Mhm.
Or if you have a service where somebody's coming in, they're keeping up with it maybe weekly or bi-weekly. Maybe do it in between once or twice, just spray it down. You don't have to put any effort into it. And it's nice because, they have those shower sprays out on the market where they say you don't have to scrubbing bubbles, no touching it, scrub free.
Mhm.
And it's the chemicals that we're using. So I always say that, just use sorry about that. I had a
It's okay.
phone next to
It's
me.
fine.
But I always say, use the chemicals that are they're non-chemicals. Like they're not strong, they're
Non-toxic,
not
yeah.
toxic. Yes, it's a lot easier to use it if you're breathing it, and especially if you're doing it every couple days or every week. You don't want something to breathe into your. We get enough chemicals in our world.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. That's the thing. Like I figure I'm not even aware of how I'm poisoning myself on a day-to-day basis. No need to port more in me. But this is something like if somebody's struggling with it and they just have a quick question, they could shoot you a message and you would come back and say, hey, this is what we use or this is what I would recommend, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and those shower walls, that's a big one. So aside from the sprays, should they be squeegeeing it on a daily basis to prevent
They
the
don't
water
have
from?
to.
They
They
don't have
they
to.
could just spray it down if they have one of those hands free or those one of those detachable heads that they could just squirt the whole shower down. Just
Okay.
spray it, let it soak, and then rinse it down. Um, One of the products actually is funny, and say this all the time. I still sound like a commercial, but we use a product when we really walk into a property that has real bad hard water deposits. We get it at the dollar store. It's called The Works
The
Tub and
works.
Towel Cleaner. Yes, The Works,
Okay.
and it works. That's why I feel like a commercial because it works, and it's a dollar. And I'm telling you, I feel like it's better than a lot of the other products on the market. We swear by it. We
Yeah.
buy it by the case.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very good. And they make a toilet bowl cleaner too. A lot of people have problems with their toilets with the ring around where the water resides at.
Right. No, that's great. I appreciate it. I haven't heard of the works, but we're gonna go pick up some and give it a shot. Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
There was something else I was gonna ask, but now it'll come back to me, I think. I
Okay.
hope. Um, okay. Oh, I remember what it was. Water softeners. Have you seen a difference? So we're talking about lime and other buildup of minerals. Families who have water softeners, do they have fewer problems? Is that a good workaround?
A little bit. A lot of families say they have those water softeners, but we will still see water buildup if it's not being wiped down consistently.
Okay.
Um, and like I'm notorious for just wiping my sink down every time I use my faucet in my kitchens, and it doesn't get a buildup around it. So it's just a habit nowadays. But some people, like most people don't have the time to keep up with all that.
Mm,
Just give it a spray once a week.
yep. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's a good workaround because I could handle doing it once a week. Hey, I'll make it my routine every Sunday morning. Get out, spray, 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 and there you go. And with
Right.
the water softeners, the other counter argument to it is just because a water softener is present doesn't mean one that they're actually putting the salts in it. Doesn't mean that it's
Hmm.
operating properly, and doesn't mean that you're still not going to have an issue like you're saying. Like I wouldn't say that just because you have a water softener, all of a sudden 100% of the minerals and the deposits are out.
Right.
That's why we hire water professionals to look at that stuff for us. So I was just curious about your perspective on it.
Yeah, they need to
Um,
be maintenance and serviced regularly because they will also get hard water built up in them.
yes, yeah. No system's perfect. Everything fails eventually. So
Right.
fortunately, there's no such thing as the maintenance-free life. What about tiles and grout? I see this all the time with staining actually getting into the grout or in between the tiles. Are there
Right,
any
right.
easy fixes for that?
Yes, sometimes the staining is mold, or sometimes it is mildew, or it will be hard water again. If we've tried all the above, already, and it still won't come out, say if it's black or if it's green, it might be mildew.
Mm,
And a lot of times we're not supposed, on my insurance, they have a clause that they don't want us using bleach,
mhm.
but bleach will cut mold and mildew right out of anything. You spray it, you walk away. You don't even breathe it. You just walk away. But rinse your shower out when you're done.
Mhm.
After it's set for a while, and most of the time you'll come back and it's gone.
Really?
No scrubbing, nothing. Yeah.
I've tried it before and I've had mixed results, but I'm with you. Whenever I do bleach, I mean, the odor alone just causes me concern. I'm just like, oh wow, that smells toxic. So I usually hit on the fan or open a window and just walk away, let it sit, come back, rinse. I often will do a scrubbing in there. 9 out of 10 times, I would say it has worked, but I think there were a couple cases where it got stuck. So
Right. Yeah,
you know,
it does get in the grout, and sometimes the grout needs to be redone, the caulking and the edges and stuff, and the seams of the showers and stuff.
okay. Now, this is another big one. Ovens, cleaning them, and I'm going to do it just in general. You attack it however you want because we've got glass tops, we've got self-cleaning, we've got not self-cleaning. It's just a hot mess, and everybody seems to struggle with it. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing nobody brought up microwaves, but let's be clear, microwaves are pretty much a disaster too. So let's
Oh
attack these. How do we handle microwaves and ovens?
yeah.
Take it as
All
you
right.
will.
All right, let's start on the top, the stove tops, especially the glass tops.
Yeah,
Most of the companies that provide you with the installation will give you a chemical that works really well
right. A
on
little
your
white
glass
stuff,
top.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, but what it is really it's a soft scrub, any kind of generic soft scrub, or Clorox makes soft scrub, any of the above. It doesn't have to have bleach in it though to work. Um, Again, I soak everything. Everything you soak, it takes less of your you know, elbow grease into cleaning something. It will take less time. Soak something, walk away, and start doing something else. Wipe your counters down. But okay, so for instance, if you use a lot of cooking oils, we walk into kitchens all the time, and the stoves, the tops of the stoves, underneath the hoods, get really built up.
Yeah.
Again, the vinegar and ammonia actually soak it again. You have to be very careful. You don't want to use scrubbies though, because it will scratch stuff.
Mm,
Um, there's also just the I don't even know what they're called, but every stove is different, and they have where they put those big racks on the tops of them, and
mm.
they're like the real big industrial stoves. We have them in some of the houses, or even the smaller ones. But you pick them up, and you can clean the top of the stove, and it's metal. You can use oven cleaner spray on that, and if it's filled up, it will take it off.
You mean like a
Um,
griddle? I'm guessing.
Yeah, like a griddle, or even the not old fashioned, because some people do still prefer them and a gas stove will have like around the pilots and everything.
Oh yeah,
That'll
yeah.
get a lot.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, those things are
yeah,
just a giant hunk of metal. It's
yeah,
my understanding. So,
yeah. They'll get, you'll spill something in them, and it cooks onto it.
yeah.
Again, spray it, soak it. Um, and I use anything on my stove top. Actually, I use soap, Dawn dish detergent soap. Again, hot soapy water works great for grease. Works great for cutting things. Use like a dish towel, like a dishcloth, because you don't want to scratch anything.
Right.
If you have real bad burnt on food, uh, again, I use the oven cleaner on it.
Okay.
So,
What about I know some people they'll actually take like a sharp knife and try to scratch it off. Have you tried that? Is that I mean,
yes,
as long as you're not reckless.
yeah, you got to be real careful. Yeah, that'll get it off if it's real thick. Um, like once in a while, we'll bring, like, we have little brushes,
Hmm.
and on the one end of the brushes, it has a little bit of a hard wire brush to it.
Hmm.
So we will soak it and it'll come up a little, and then take that little bit of a brush to it and it'll get into the grooves, because
Mhm.
there's a lot of grooves where the pilot comes out of and everything. And you have to be careful because you don't want to put the pilots out and then have the gas running. So
Yeah,
always check and make sure you relight the, if you're using a gas stove, and relight the pilots.
great
Because a lot of
recommendation.
times, they go out and they have to be relit.
And while
Don't
we're at
want
it, make
to.
sure you don't let the grease build up, because I know guys in the restaurant industry, that's a pet peeve of them because they're worried about grease fires and things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
do it,
Try to
people.
keep it
Stay safe.
light. And we're
What
all
about,
cooking a lot more, right?
yeah, yeah, well, yeah, I am. I don't know if anyone else
Um,
is ordering takeout all the time, but what about the inside of the oven? What should we be doing there? Aren't some sprays are good, self-cleaning, what should we be doing?
okay, so if it is a self-cleaning oven, what we try to tell people is please don't use a oven cleaner spray, any kind of toxic sprays in those at all. Don't ever spray anything on it. It'll hurt the ceramic finish on the inside of your oven.
Okay.
Self-cleaners need to be set up hours before. They take hours to bake off anything that's in this oven, and then they take hours to cool down before the lock comes opened. Um, they sorry, my dog is barking.
That's okay. Let me know if you need to, take a break to get them or something.
No, I think he's good. We have somebody on the street.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
the dog's
what?
enforcing social distancing.
Yeah, right, right. Well, we live on a private road, so it's very rare that anybody comes down this road. So
Hmm.
I didn't expect this actually.
Yeah.
So you might want to edit all this out of here.
Well, we'll see. I don't mind it so far.
Okay,
I'll do a survey. I'll ask everyone. So
okay.
self-cleaning ovens. You said don't spray
Yes,
anything on the inside, right?
right. And again, allow lots of time. They generate a lot of heat, so
Mhm.
don't do them in the summer if you can. Try not to clean them in the summer. They do kick out a lot of heat.
Okay.
Um, and they do take a long time to cool down before they will unlock. So don't expect to be able to cook something in it right away. And then when they're done, a lot of times my girls will come in and they will wipe out there's like a real fine white residue, and it comes right off. We'll use baking soda, or we will use cleanser sometimes to do the doors where the glass is, because sometimes that gets really baked on.
Okay.
So it takes it off pretty good.
So if I wanted to have my oven perfectly clean, let's say I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, I should do the self-cleaning a day before you would come out. You guys come out, you do the final clean, and then after that, it should look gorgeous, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
And
if
and
there's,
two, if there's a spot that didn't come up,
yeah,
we can work with that using a
okay.
scrubby. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I was
pretty
gonna say,
good.
usually it seems to get most of it off.
Hmm.
And I agree, my experience has been that it does basically take an entire day once to go through the
Yeah.
entire cycle between the startup, the cooking it off, and then when you're done. I would have probably guessed it's better to do it in the summer just because it seems to give a little burnt smell as a result of it. You can sometimes see a little bit of something coming out of it. And maybe
Oh,
that's just
okay.
because we self-clean after we dump an entire pie in there. I'm not sure. If we're going down that path, we probably should have cleaned it out better first instead of
Yeah,
incinerating a pie.
it's just fighting your air conditioning bill, though.
Yeah, well, some people are reckless. I think we might fall in that category. What about the microwave? So okay,
Um,
so I've seen videos online where people just make it look amazing. They're like, "Oh, I turned on my microwave for 2 minutes, and then everything just kind of wiped off." Is that real? Does
no,
that actually happen?
we don't do that because we don't usually like turn them on and like some people. I know there's tricks to it. We don't do that normally. Again, we'll spray it down, let it soak, and then wipe it. I know there is some kind of trick that you can probably put. I think it's baking soda and lemon
Yeah,
in a
I don't know.
bowl.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I just like
and
it, and
maybe
I'm
some
amazed, and I
vinegar.
think I should go home and do it. And then, well,
Try it though. You put like a baking soda vinegar concoction together and turn the microwave on for maybe 20 seconds
yeah,
and see if it loosens the things up that are built up inside the microwave. Especially like my husband, he spills coffee in it all the time.
yep.
And it should wipe out pretty nice.
I like the fact that you're volunteering my microwave to find out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I just know it's an issue. Like it's a classic office argument. Oh, who's the one who's cooking off the
Yes.
food in the microwave and gets it all caked up? And I've seen some nasty microwaves. But it seems like you're still a big fan of the whole. It's a matter of just using clean, safe products, and then following the basic principles of cleaning, which are like soak it some more, and then just incrementally get it off. You know,
Right.
principles stand true, but you know, science. What are you gonna do?
Saves you some elbow grease too.
Yeah, well, elbow grease. That was one of the things that people brought up because elbow grease comes in different packages. Like my wife is a very small package, so she doesn't have a lot of elbow grease. So if
Uh-huh.
you have any tips for doing it without elbow grease, I know many people would appreciate that as well as we're going along. But another hot topic that people deal with all the time are windows, blinds, and fans. Cleaning the
Ugh.
inside and out of the window, and then the blinds are just always a tragedy for me. I can't seem to come up with good ways to clean those.
So if you have a real big house that has the real tall windows,
Hmm.
it's very hard to do those, especially. We'll bring step stools in and we'll do them. But if they're the smaller windows, sometimes we'll take them down and literally put them in the tub.
Huh.
If they're in the tub and wash them, soak them
Yeah.
again. Yeah, put them in a tub with soapy water, and they come up great. Yeah, because if you're soaking something, it just loosens the dirt up on them. It's the old-fashioned way my mom taught me to do it.
Put a window in the tub.
Not the window, the blinds.
Okay, there we go. I was gonna say I'm missing something here. I can't. I'm like, how do I get the window off, and how am I gonna put it
Oh,
back on? The blinds. Okay.
the
And that gets it
blinds.
all out.
Oh
I mean,
no,
I
you
guess it
do
would
have
help with wiping, but do you have to still wipe off each individual piece?
yeah,
You
you
do?
do, and
Okay.
then you got to have a place that you can dry them.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, but it's efficient. It really works well. A lot of times we will just take the slatted blinds, turn them one way, spray them, wipe them down, turn them the opposite way, and wipe them down. And then you check to make sure nothing
Yep.
dripped in between. Check them, see if you didn't get every single little spot. Um, Ceiling fans. There's a lot of tools out there that are made that they will go around the fan blades
Okay.
to get up there high. If you keep up with it regularly, that should keep it from dust free. Or even a long, tall duster. We use extension poles for everything, like especially the houses nowadays have higher ceilings. We'll go around with those, and you start at the top and work your way down, and all that dust falls down. So you want to keep up with keeping something that's a tall duster to get all your high spots. Um, but especially I see the worst problems we have are vents in bathrooms because of the condensation.
Yep.
And if they're not dusted regularly, the condensation will actually make it so that it's almost hard to get off.
Like it
So
kicks it
again,
on, right?
yes, it
Yeah.
almost makes it like real hard. So we'll have to soak them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can take the vents out, and sometimes you just spray them and soak them.
So I'm a big advocate of just abandon it, throw it out, and get a new one.
I
Because
like that.
because I've seen some bad ones where like the dust is so heavy that it's actually messing with the fan blades and like
Yeah,
clumping up in there. And I mean, it's been a while since I priced out a fan blade, but like if you go the cheap routes, they're under 50
yeah.
bucks.
Same
So
with the blinds too.
yeah.
If you have the small little metal blinds, you
Hmm.
could replace them for less expensive than we can clean them.
Gotcha.
So I tell people that because we're here to help you. We're not here to, we're all working together on this.
I
So I
couldn't
try
agree
to tell
more.
people that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always a team effort, especially when it comes to anything related to the house, because it's impossible for one person to know everything.
Yes.
Um, Now, that doesn't mean that I want all of America to start throwing out their blinds once a year and buying new ones. Don't get me wrong. But we need to come up with some kind of solution. That's why I'm a big fan of the whole flip it one way, clean it, flip it the other, clean it, and then check it. I've done that
Yeah.
before too, and it gets most of it.
Right.
It's nothing's perfect though. Even if you clean everything, there's still dust and pollen and everything floating around in your air. So it's never like your house is going to be perfect. If you're looking for perfect, I'm sorry. Unless Michelle knows something don't know, it's
Well,
impossible.
having us come in on a regular basis is what keeps things under control, I think.
I
You
would
know,
agree.
somebody, because nowadays time and you know, in this time and ages, nobody can keep up with anything.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we're there to help you. You know, it's a different world today than it was when our moms were growing up and didn't work. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if your mom worked, but you know,
Well, part-time, but and neither here nor
yeah,
there. I understand what you're saying. We definitely are busier now than we were in years gone past. But
correct.
let's talk about that, because I know that's important for me. I know that's important for the realtors that I work with and many of the buyers and sellers that I've worked with. Let's talk about um, people don't just hire you to come in on a weekly basis to clean out, or to bi-weekly basis clean out their house. They're also doing like cleanups, or hey, I want to sell my house, let's make it look amazing for the open house or to get it ready for staging. Can you tell me
Hmm.
what you do there, or what you recommend to most families? How should we approach this? I want my house to look like $1 million. What should I be doing?
Right. So a lot of the houses that we go into, we try to recommend to try to depersonalize the house.
Hmm.
In other words, take personal pictures down of family. Maybe you can leave like a like one family portrait up or something, but not. I have a whole table of my whole family history,
Yeah.
and that's a lot too many pictures. Sports. They don't want you to try to keep up a whole lot of sports memorabilia or sports pictures up. Anything that says any trying to keep away from keeping your house as general as possible. You don't want to make it feel any particular way. You don't want it to be any sports like, oh, I'm a Phillies fan because I am, but
And then
um,
a Giants fan walks in or a Yankee fan walks in, you lose them.
right,
And
right, you
I
know,
agree. So it's I tell people, if you see it in a magazine or you see it at an open house or like a new construction,
uh-huh,
that's how you want it to look, because
right,
it's generic. It has a mass appeal, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create an experience that the buyer enjoys the home and can see themselves in it and not see you, because it's not about you
right,
anymore. It's about convincing a
and
buyer to spend a couple $100,000 to buy your house. And
right,
they can't do that if they walk in and say, oh, well, it's an Eagles fan. Well, no offense to the Eagles, but if you're not an Eagles fan, you don't care. And you don't want them thinking about Eagles then. So
right, right, or
I'm
even
rambling.
any kind of influential thing, any religious, any sports, any personal things. You try to just keep it as generic as possible. And we always say our big saying is less is better, more.
Hmm.
Less is more because you want less clutter. You want, if you have 10 bottles of shampoo in your shower, try to get it down to two, you
Yep.
know, or, you know, try to get some of your things categorized and put away, and it makes it so the person can see the house, not your things.
Yep. I
And that's the big
remember I read a statistic. They said they did a study and they said if you make your closets 50% empty, they look
hmm
30% larger or
Oh
something crazy
yes,
like that. And I
yes,
was like, you know what? That does make sense. Because anytime
right,
I see a closet packed full of stuff, it doesn't feel very spacious. But if it looks like there's extra space, it works.
right,
And I believe the same philosophy applies to countertops at kitchens. That's why when you look in magazines, they don't fill them up. Same thing with hotels. They want it to be nice and accommodating and maybe have some features, but they don't stack the counter, from one edge to the other.
right. Not a
Uh,
lot of furniture. If you can downsize on some of the furniture,
yep.
decluttering is what some of the times we'll do. We will have people pack things away into the garages or put it into storage if they want, whatever works best for them.
What about the whole house cleaning? Is there something we should focus on or prioritize?
When we're doing real estate
Yes.
sales, yeah. When we come into a house, a lot of times we will do uh, um, a deep clean. We will do everything from baseboards, woodwork, window seals, edges of doors, around handles, light switches, insides and outsides of all appliances, cabinets, and cupboards. Um, Floors, surfaces, also vacuuming or mopping. Um, we want that house to be yours when you move into it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to feel like you moved into somebody else's house.
Mm.
It's yours. We make it your house. We make it sparkle. And that's one of my clients says that about us all the time. Send Michelle and she'll make it sparkle, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it's true. So when I talk to sellers, I say, it's basically red flags. You don't want a
Mhm.
red flag. And a red flag could be the dust on the fan that you referenced.
Yes.
When people see that caked on, whether it's a bathroom fan or a ceiling fan in the living room, it doesn't look good. And if
Right.
you see enough red flags, whether they're condition issues like not cleaning, or condition issues like something's broken, like the cabinets don't quite close properly, they add up eventually, and then people start to assume that the house as a whole is bad. And that's part of the reason I like the idea of cleaning, because it's, you know, something basic, it's something simple, but on a practical sense, it has a big impact.
Right. And we can make it picture perfect for a relatively lesser price for, you know, something that's been stained, sometimes floors,
Yeah.
sometimes counters. We can come in and, you know, your deposits are built up. We can come in and fix those.
And that's, you guys are very much like a non-judgmental group. It's not about, you know, the stain was there or not. Listen, we all live with stains. There's stains in my house.
Right. Yeah.
But I can tell you that if my family comes over and starts staying for a week long, for whatever reason, I'm going to try and clean out the tub. It's the same thing, except instead of it's my family, who hopefully will still be forgiving of me, I now need to sell it to a stranger, and I want them to pay me too much money for the house. So if I want them to pay too much, I wanted to make it look like a hotel or a suite or something where they say, "Oh my
Right.
goodness, I'm lucky to have the house." And that's why I'm a big fan of just having clean houses. You know, clean houses, clean paint. You know, it goes a long way. It really does.
Right. Yeah. You want it to be eye appealing.
Yes. Yes. I want them to fall in love with the house. So
Yeah.
much so that if there is an issue, they're not complaining about it. They say, I can work around it, or I can fix that. I can take care of that. And that's why I say it
Hmm.
needs to be an overall experience. Because if the experience is that good that they don't care about the minor issues, great. Now we've got a buyer.
Right.
All
Right.
right. Let's see. I'm looking through some of my notes here for some of the other questions that I was missing. I know we had a question about a soap dispenser on a washer that you and I talked about a little bit prior. You're going to go back, I think, what, to the vinegar and the ammonia, trying to cut through the soap, because that's kind
Or
of
any kind of chemical that you like, just to, like, some people like Windex. Windex is a great multi-purpose cleaner, and nowadays Windex makes a cleaner that's even for electronic appliances and wood and glass, and it's multi-purpose. Um, so you can use anything that you have that you prefer, and we tell people this all the time. Some people like different products. Every house has its own personality, so it needs a different product for whatever it has. If you have wood floors, if you have marble floors, so soak it with whatever you prefer. You know, but if you don't want it to be toxic, if you want it to be, you know, if you're
toxic,
not concerned about,
very abrasive, very powerful. That's how we describe a toxic chemical, something
yes,
designed
yeah,
specifically to cut through it at the expense
right,
of health. And that's not meant to be judgy, people. I'm sorry, but you know, some products are toxic, but they work really well.
right. Old
Um,
school was bleach. People cleaned with bleach forever.
yeah.
And it's very, very tough on the lungs. So
I remember reading a study about that probably like 5, 6 years ago at this point, and they had actually said that individuals who work in the cleaning service for 30 plus years, they could see residual scarring in their lungs because of, and they speculated it was because of just breathing in bleach for so many years. Because they said
yeah,
on an individual day, inhaling bleach isn't going to cause lung cancer or damage your lungs. I mean, it'll damage your lungs a little bit, but that's like saying, you know, stepping outside and standing in the sun, it's not bad for you. No, it's not. But if you spend literally every day in the sun for 40 years without any sunscreen, and you're right on the beach getting tons and tons of exposure, yeah, you have an increased chance of skin cancer,
right, right,
is what it is. And that's
right,
basically what they argued with the fumes and cleaning personnel. So,
right. With young children, raising them in your home, and you don't want them exposed to all of that, especially babies.
yep. So we were very careful as well when we wanted to like paint rooms and we had the infants around. We
Wow.
were just like, yep, get them out. Because even with the, I forget what the term is, the low whatever fume it is that they do in paint. If you ask any paint expert, they'll say, yeah, there are fewer fumes that are toxic for you, but it's impossible to get 100% of them out.
Right,
You can just
right.
get most of them out. So fun fact. Granite. I wanted to touch base on this. A lot of people have granite countertops nowadays. We don't know how to clean them. Are you going to say soap and water?
Yes.
Yes, we should soak it.
Now you don't have to soak them too much, because, like, if
Should I
you've
take them out
used
and put
your,
them in the bathtub? Is that what I?
yeah,
I'm sorry.
right.
I'm sorry. I'm
That
feeling
was good,
goofy.
though. That was good.
Thank you. I try.
Oh, so yeah, if you use your dish soap, it cuts, food. That's what
Okay.
you have on your counters. It works great. I swear by Dawn dish detergent or any detergent, Dawn, or any of these dish soaps are out there. They're all really well made, but you don't want anything that's going to hurt the finish.
Like what?
Anything like the vinegar would be a little too strong, I would think.
Okay.
If you used it repetitiously over and over and over and over and over again,
And I think that's
it would.
because it's acidic, isn't that correct?
Yes, yes.
Because
Same with
I
the
know like you
bone.
can't leave spaghetti sauce on a granite countertop. There's sometimes soft minerals in there that'll slowly dissolve because of the acidic spaghetti
You know
sauce.
what else you don't want to leave on there is a soda can that's stripped.
The
With
soda can?
soda is so
Oh, yeah, like Coca-Cola? Oh my
yes, it
goodness.
could eat the paint off your car.
Yeah, I know, it would destroy it.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
I had a guy who worked for Coca-Cola and he said they used to clean out the engine blocks by using Coca-Cola. He's like,
Wow.
yeah, there was some buildup in there. We just spray some Coke on it. It's so acidic.
Oh my.
Tastes so good.
Yeah. So
Um,
granite's sort of easy and they have granite counter cleaners out also, that are very well made and everything. They're not real toxic, you
but
know.
we don't
They're not.
need to use them. Soap just is good enough.
Yeah, I
That's a weird
agree.
way of saying it, but
Yes.
and here again, I'm going to go back to the science just because I'm like a science nerd about it. But it's my understanding that basically, if it doesn't dissolve in water, soap is designed to dissolve it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a simplification. Obviously, soap doesn't dissolve metal,
Right.
but we're talking about like normal things, food products, greases, etc. They don't bind with water. That's why like
Right.
oil rises to the top. You put soap in there because the soap binds with the oil, and then the soap also binds with the water. So it creates basically a chain that links water to whatever other typical material that you're going to be trying to clean in your house. And that's the beauty of it. So it doesn't matter what I practically spill on my granite countertop, soap doesn't bind with granite.
Right. Right. Soap it breaks down whatever kind of food enzyme you've left on the counters.
Yes. And the first chemist who watches this, please comment below. Tell us if we're correct in our conclusions. That's my understanding of the science. Um,
Oh.
and we do have problems. So we have some pock marks. When we bought our house, the granite had some pock marks. I assume the former owners put something on it that they weren't supposed to. And I'll admit that
Oh.
we're lazy with it from time to time too. But it is what it is. We
Right.
could replace it. We're probably not going to seal it because I've seen that done before. And then usually it's like a film. It's like you can see it basically. And
Yeah.
it looks a little unnatural. But that's
And
a
sometimes it
conversation my wife and
separates.
I've had many times. I say soap
Right.
works. It's granite. It's just a stone. You're just cleaning stone. Nice.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but she likes the granite cleaner, so I won't fault her for that because you gave your blessing for them.
Yes.
What else? Let's go high level here. I want to clean my house. It's spring cleaning. I've got time. Where do I start?
Up high.
Up
I
high.
always tell people start up high. Yes. We go into these houses that have the big high ceilings. Again, we'll go look at the vents. We'll look at the window seals. You know how you have some of the houses, the big colonial houses, with
Yep.
the big window over the foyer.
Yep.
So, do you ever look at some of the window seals there?
I bet it's beautiful. Looks
Oh, yes.
dusty.
So we have the extension poles that will get up there and clean those. The chandeliers that hang in foyers get a lot of. You're so far away from those as opposed to a low ceiling fan.
Yeah.
You don't notice it until you look up and you go, oh my goodness, that's really dirty.
Yeah.
um, Sometimes it depends on how bad it is. Sometimes you have to call in a whole person, like another contractor, to come in and bring ladders in to do them. Sometimes we can clean them if they're just dusty.
Yeah.
So my big thing is go around, look for cobwebs, start at the top and work your way down. Start in one corner of the house or room and work until you're, back to the end of the house, do it floor by floor.
Does it matter if I do? So I used to hear this rumor that you should always do, when you're saying top to bottom, they also say tables and counters before you do floors. Is that true
Yep.
as well?
Oh, yes. Yeah, your floors are the very last thing you do.
And
Yep.
why is that?
Because a lot of times there's dust falling. You could be dusting something and it's falling, or there's crumbs falling down.
Mm-hmm.
You could be dripping some of the things. Your hands might be wet. So you want the floors to look perfect. And we literally We'll walk backwards out of rooms when we vacuum our floors so our footprints aren't left. We leave no traces of ourselves. And we will, back out of a room when we're mopping floors also.
So I have
Hardwood
just
floors.
two vivid imaginations. One is you're like a cleaning ninja and you're just like flipping out. And the other is you literally moonwalking out with like little booty covers on your feet. I don't know
We
which
do
one you want
that.
to use. I'm just saying you need to, because it'll entertain me and probably a bunch of other goofballs out there. All right. Any other tips on how I'm supposed to do it? So start high, go down, and that applies to all surfaces. Finish with the floors last. I used to do this when I was cleaning bathrooms. I'd always start with windows and mirrors first, because I felt like there was a greater chance of you leaving like streaks or other issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's something you recommend as well.
Um,
You might
I
just
never thought of that.
use more rags than I use. Maybe I'm just a
Oh yeah,
slob.
yeah. We use a ton of rag, and it's funny because some people want to use newspaper,
Oh yeah?
and yes, and I don't like newspaper because the newsprint will get on your fingers, and then you're touching things, and that black will get. Some houses have that white edging on the windows, and
Hmm.
it'll get on the windows. So I highly recommend not to use newspaper.
Yeah,
It's cost effective, but
true.
I do know old school, a lot of people use newspaper. So I don't want to rule that out for anybody that still follows those rules, but just to say, and we
Does
use
that mean you're a
rags.
big fan of like disposable stuff? So you don't use rags, you use like
We
paper
do use
products?
rags. We
You
do
do use
use
rags?
rags. We
Okay.
use those ones that are like a,
The
I don't even know,
microfiber or whatever it is?
the microfibers, yeah, because the lint won't cling to them.
Okay.
Um, some people will try to give us like old socks or old towels. Towels fray if you cut them. So I mean, literally, we bring a giant garbage bag in with clean rags in when we go into a house. And no, I don't like a lot of using paper towels and stuff. I don't like to make more trash
Okay.
for the world. Yeah,
Well, I worked
it's
at a
not.
restaurant and they once had me use like the coffee filters, which kind of caught me off guard, but I thought, well, I guess it could work. No reason it couldn't.
Wow, that's
Yeah, they were just
interesting.
like yeah, wipe down the windows, do this, do that. I was like, okay, what am I using? Because I started looking for rags. That's what I was used to using. And they were like, grab a couple coffee filters. Here's the spray.
That's a new one.
I mean, like I don't know, like maybe people do this. A newspaper didn't cross my mind, but when you said it, I was like, yeah, I think I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Um,
My
you
husband still does our sunroom with them.
know.
That's his room. He likes it. He does them.
What you should do is you should go out there and just get some light darkness and just start smearing it everywhere and see how long it takes them for them to notice. I was going to say permanent market at first, but I thought, nah, it might be too obvious. I need something else. I'm not sure what it is though. But we'll get one of your misting bottles and then we'll grind up some chalk or something like that and just do a poof of it on the walls. I know, going down the wrong path right now, but it's fun. You just be like, honey, I told you, don't use the newspapers. We'll get some color in
He's
there. He must use the comics on the Sunday funnies.
oh yeah. He's pretty laid back. He probably wouldn't even care.
we we don't even know. He might not even notice.
Right.
I wouldn't. I'd just be like, do. Don't mind me. Um, I appreciate all the time you've taken to explain your inside tricks and secrets for cleaning houses. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up or mention that's important to you, or just that we've missed?
I think that there was one question you had asked me earlier, in the notes that you had sent me. It said, why would you hire me as opposed to them doing it themselves?
Yeah.
And I think that what happens is people compare moving out of a home as almost as stressful as going through mourning somebody or going through a divorce.
Hmm.
That it's very, very highly stressful.
Yes.
It's a lot to do. So we come in and we try to alleviate that. We give you the time to put your house on the market, get your financing set up, get your, finances in order, what you want to do. Arranging your house, getting it packed up. Packing is extremely a lot of work. We've done a lot of houses where we help people pack. We're really great at like organizing things too. And getting your stuff forwarded to the new addresses, getting everything in line. There's a lot to do. So if we can take one thing off your plate, we do that. And I think that also too, if you own a business and you have an office in your home, you can use the cleaning bill, a portion of it as a write-off. So
Mhm.
I tell people that all the time, write in on your checks, it was for cleaning so that you can use that for your taxes,
And
when you're selling also.
yeah, I think that's a really great point. And so when we're talking, I agree with some of like the analogies and metaphors you're using. At the end of the day, you need to prioritize because there's only so
Mhm.
much you can do. And when you're buying or selling a house, that's the number one priority. When you're running a business, it's keeping your customers happy, driving revenue,
Mhm.
maintaining your profits so you can keep your people employed so you can feed your family. And if you can offload some of that responsibility and get it done as well, or arguably better, because you're actually
Mhm.
hiring professionals who this is how they spend their life, this is their craft, this is what they've mastered. I
Right.
think there's a lot to be said about that. And some people have a hard time coming to grips with that because there's a lot of pride involved with being responsible for cleaning your own house and being independent, and, taking on these big tasks. Um, so I've said to people, you know what, when push comes to shove, there's limits. I've had people
Mhm.
come and say, oh, I'm going to clean, I'm going to paint, I'm going to fix, I'm going to do all these things. And then and I'm like, hey, that's fine. I think those are all great ideas. And yes, they'll help with the property value. And yes, they'll help us sell the house first, faster. But let's be perfectly clear. They're talking about doing all those things and they've got 1 week to do them. I'm like, you
Mm.
just can't do all those things in 1 week. It's not going to happen unless you hire 12 family members to come in and pay them with pizza and beer to work 12 hours a day, all day. So, I'm going long-winded here. I have a bad problem with it, but yeah, I agree. If you can take one entire column of tasks that need to be done and just outsource it and say, great, now I can focus on doing what's most important, taking care of that
Mhm.
big question of where am I going next and am I going to be happy there? And how do I make that transition as smooth as possible so I don't disrupt my entire life and displace my kids and, get in a big argument with my spouse or whatever the situation is. There's a lot to be said about that. There really
Right.
is.
And
So I'm glad
people
you
are
brought it
still
up.
working. They're
Oh,
still
yeah,
working
you're
while
working.
they're
Well, that's why I
yeah.
love the business example. I couldn't agree more. I don't like, so when I was working in the restaurant business, they weren't making money on me by having me clean the windows. They had me do it because there wasn't enough people there to service. That's the only
Ah,
reason. So if you can keep your staff employed and making money, driving revenue, that's of course worth more money. You
oh
don't
yeah.
want your staff to be wiping down windows and counters. You want them doing more deals,
Right.
taking better care of your clients because that's where you make your money.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of it. But that's like the whole notion of, when we all work together, we all collaborate, when we specialize, we all get more out of it. Now an economist needs to drop a comment below about whether or not that's true. That's a whole debate of like, I think macroeconomics and like the global economy. We all specialize, we all get more as long as the expense associated with logistics. I apologize, I'm rambling again.
I think it's all good. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all the time. And I'm going to post this out for everyone. If you guys have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Michelle. She's a great person. That's why I invited her on to talk to us. And thank you so much for your pro tips and recommendations.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking me.
Hey, my pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.